freestyle travel. Hey everybody, this is Kenny Flannery, as always, and I am in Greece, in Athens, Greece, and I got a hell of an episode, hell of a story for you today. It's going to be a dense one, journeying from Portugal all the way to here, to Athens. Took a lot. It was hitchhiking 10 days out of 11 days. Only had one day off in that whole stretch. It's about 4,200 kilometers, 59 different rides in that time. Yeah, mostly hitchhiking. There was a couple weird buses involved in Italy, a couple short rides, lots of police in several different countries, riding with them, interacting with them, them being a pain in the ass, basically, in Italy especially. A bunch of ups and downs, getting real wet a couple times, getting sunburned. Yeah, it's an epic journey, but I'm here now. I made it, so I'm going to get into all that. And I think the last episode I was in Spain, so I'll briefly tell you about just getting from Spain to Portugal as well, because that was pretty chill. Caught up with my friend there in Portugal, and yeah, it's just a big journey for this one, so we're going to get into all of it. Should be cool. Other than that, some trip hopping updates. I don't think this was live on the last episode, but buses and trains working. Prices on trip hopping. So now when you go to the Go page on trip hopping, not only will you see the best hitchhiking spots to get you to where you're going, not only will you see the cheapest flights, which has worked since the beginning, but now you'll actually see the prices and schedules for buses from wherever you're going to wherever you're going, whether it's a Flex bus or some weird local bus or whatever. So kind of a big deal, kind of super useful. Around the world, sometimes there's some like stupid cheap buses, and yeah, now you'll see that on trip hopping. So that's the biggest update to trip hopping. And yeah, some like rideshare stuff going on. I'll get into that because that has to do with meeting up with my friend in Portugal. But yeah, pretty good. So yeah, that's about it. Let me jump into the story because it's going to be a dense one. Like I said, 59 fucking rides just to get across the whole continent, basically. Yeah, let's just start jumping into it. All right, so yeah, pretty big trip here. So first, let me just get us to Portugal before getting into the whole thing, because the last episode I was still in Sevilla, Spain, staying with a friend, aiming to go to Portugal to see a buddy there. That was a pretty easy hitchhike, a lot of rides actually for kind of a short distance, but not a lot of long waits getting over the border from Spain to Portugal. Bit by bit, beautiful area. It's my first time in southern Portugal, so really enjoyed it, and got to my buddy's place, and he lived like an hour hike to the sea there. Took that little hike one day, and a bunch of surfers over there, and hitchhiking back to his place the other direction was super easy because there's just people in a good mood. In beautiful places, people are in good moods and more likely to pick up a hitchhiker. Seems like in my experience, so pretty chill. And on the way to Portugal, he had mentioned this Portuguese Burning Man Flamingo Festival. And he's like, I'll get us tickets. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we went to that. That was pretty cool. It was like 150 people. Not too many, like kind of a good amount, you know. And besides it raining like almost every day, off and on, it was pretty cool, you know, just what you could probably imagine. A lot of music, a lot of people running around naked, having a good time. We got a whole mess of beer and rum and whiskey and tequila and vodka and all kinds of food, and just kind of set up camp at like this T-junction, which was pretty fun because we just like sat there, and as people came by, we were just like, have a beer, have a shot, have a scoop of peanut butter. Like just offering people food and booze every time they walked by, making new friends. It was pretty cool. And when we'd first gone up there, I was thinking maybe I would go directly to Lisbon from the festival, but it was kind of a rainy day when we left, and he said he was going up to Lisbon in a couple days anyways. So I'm like, all right, let me just go back to his place, which turned out to be a pretty good move, because on the drive back, it's like a 3-hour drive from the festival to his place, we were just talking about tech and travel and stuff. He actually started, or is involved in starting, like Hitchhiking and Trust Routes and things like this. And so we were talking about Nostr, which maybe you've heard me talk about before, which is this like open protocol. It's a little bit geeky or whatever, but he also owns rideshares.org, just a domain name, and there's nothing on there. I was like, dude, we should do something about that. It's a pretty good domain name, rideshares.org. And I'm like, I bet I could build like a Nostr-based rideshare site in like a day. I could try. So that's what I did. I made a rideshare site in a day using this Nostr protocol. And yeah, it's actually got like a lot of potential. So the cool thing about Nostr is it's just like this open protocol that many different apps can use. You can think of it like email. If you have a Gmail account or a Hotmail account or MSN or whatever your email is, you can send an email to anybody. It doesn't matter what app they're using or what their email address is, they get the email. So this would kind of be the same thing. You could post rides on rideshares.org and they'll show up on trip hopping, for example. And the idea is that if any of these sites go down, the same way if Gmail were to ever fail or whatever, like you'd still be able to access your stuff. Kind of nerdy, but actually a lot of potential, and some good things might come of that. And anyways, yeah, it's like right in the wheelhouse of trip hopping. So pretty cool. Got that up and running, and something I might work on a little bit more here in the future. You can check it out if you want, just rideshares.org. And yeah, post rides there and you'll see them pop up on trip hopping too, and vice versa. So pretty cool that I just was able to knock that out in like a day, at least the basic kind of version. More to come with that. So did that, and then yeah, the day came to drive up to Lisbon with his two kids. I think one of them had to go to the embassy for some passport, something or other. That was his reason for going up there. So we got up there kind of late, and he had an Airbnb on a boat, really small boat, not a lot of room. So I slept in the backseat of the car, and then in the morning just yeah, hit a cafe and some other stuff, and then parted ways with him. And yeah, I'd never been to Lisbon before, so I'm like, all right, let me check out this city. And in the process of checking out the city, I sat down in a coffee shop and I realized, I pretty much know I want to be in the United States this summer is what I've been thinking. And there's different stuff going on. I got a friend in North Carolina who says he's wanting to open up a brewery. I don't know exactly how serious he is, but I do know I want to drop in and find out how serious he is. Some stuff going on up north. Anyways, I knew I wanted to get to US eventually. So using trip hopping, I searched for just any flights. That's the beauty of trip hopping, and some other flight searches do this too, but you can search from Europe to United States and just see within like a month and a half period, which is what I searched to find the cheapest flight possibly from, to get over the Atlantic Ocean. And the cheapest flight was by a lot from Athens, Greece to New York City. 2 weeks from when I was looking. I was like, all right, let's do it. So I just booked the flight right then and there, and I'm like, all right, I got 2 weeks to go to Greece. And kind of underestimated the distance. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty far. This is basically one corner of Europe to the other. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it's over 4,000 kilometers. If you're in the United States, it's almost the equivalent of going from New York to Los Angeles. It's about the same distance. I'm like, okay, 2 weeks, let's go. So I finished up checking out Lisbon for the day. Pretty cool city, bunch of ups and downs, and being on the sea is always kind of cool. Hit up a brewery, and then found a place to stealth camp on the highway. Woke up in the morning, ready to get going. Day 1 of 11 of hitchhiking to Greece. So day 1, my very first ride in Lisbon was a guy going to Lisbon. I was like, oh, what the fuck? Damn it. But he actually got me to a better spot of the city. I was kind of in a really bad spot, actually. So he got me a little bit out of the city, just to be nice. And then I got going. And the next ride was like kind of a pretty interesting one. It was this guy, maybe 60 years old or something, who says back in the day he was a specialized hitchhiker. I was like, tell me more. So he says he used to hitchhike all the time. He was an expert pro, particularly from Portugal to Belgium to see a girlfriend and also to see the Portuguese football team, soccer team. And he said he'd even hitched 2 rides on flights, and I asked him about that. And both kind of the same situation. So he would always hitchhike to see this football team. And one of the times, I guess he was in Germany, and he was at like one of the parties they were at, and they kind of knew who he was. And they came up to him. They're like, "You're that guy who always hitchhikes like to our games and stuff." And he's like, "Yeah, that's me." And they're like, "You're really gonna hitchhike back to Portugal?" And he's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "All right, we got a better idea." So they let him ride on the private plane with them back. So he essentially, and that happened like a couple times. I think the other time was from the UK. So pretty interesting guy. He was just like telling me all these hitchhiking stories, and finally dropped me off at a rest area to kind of keep it moving, which I did. So just trying to get up and out of Portugal. I was thinking of going to Porto at first, because there's just like this crazy dish makes it sound fancy. It's this francesinha or something like that. It's this Portuguese thing out of Porto. It's like a steak covered in cheese and eggs and a crazy sauce. It's like a crazy thing. You got to Google it if you haven't heard of it. I had it once before when I was in Porto years ago, and I really want to get one of those before I leave Portugal. So at first I was like kind of aiming towards Porto, and I was going kind of slow. And then these guys picked me up, and they were going away towards the Spanish border to this little town. And I mentioned this francesinha thing, or however you pronounce it. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you can find that everywhere." And they're like, "The town we're going to now, they've got them." And I'm like, "All right, well fuck Porto." You guys are going more in the direction I'm going, towards Spain. So they dropped me off in this little town, I forget the name of it. And I found a spot and treated myself to this big old juicy fucking mess of it comes out looking like you don't know what it is. You see it on a plate, like you're like, "Is this a cake? Is this a pie? What is going on here?" It's like bright orange, kind of crazy sauce. Oh my god, it's so fucking good. It is so good. I chowed that thing down. A little stout, a little Portuguese stout. Oh man. It was awesome. And I'm like, all right, let me get the hell out of here. Let's see if I can get to Spain. So I had to walk a little ways out of that city and only managed to hitch one more ride. Again, day 1 of 11 days. From these 2 older guys who got me to a kind of a gas station. And already it's like kind of lightly raining there. It's almost sunset. I'm standing on the highway, just because this gas station that dropped me off is totally dead. And I was on the highway for maybe 10-20 minutes until the cops showed up, and they're like, "Yeah, you can't be on the highway. Get off." So I'm like, all right, fuckers. So I waited for them to drive away, and I stayed on the highway because I was like, dude, there's no way, there's no one getting on this to this gas station. So I stayed on the highway. There's only like 30 minutes left of daylight anyways, and I did not get picked up. So started the wetness. The first few days of this trip are just wet. So this is day 1 of this shit. And this whole gas station, everything was fenced off. All the woods around were like heavily fenced off. And it's threatening rain. So I'm like, all right, let me walk through this tunnel to the other side. Same thing at that gas station area. I'm like, all right, let me walk down to find the first overpass of the highway. And sometimes you can sleep under the overpasses, and that was not only fenced off, but lit up. Like, why? It seems like the only reason, that was like for me, like, don't be here, don't sleep. I can't see any other reason why they would, I've never seen that before, actually. Like a fenced off overpass, like you couldn't climb up, and yeah, just totally lit up, like spotlighted. Like, I'm like, all right, this isn't for me. I don't know who this is for or what this is for. So I'm like, all right, well that sucks. And then I walked in one direction and dogs are barking and everything was already soaked. So like I tried walking through some tall grass to see if I could camp somewhere, and just got my pants soaked, and it was just all too shrubbed out and impossible to camp there. And anyways, I looked up the road on the map and I'm like, all right, there's another overpass. Maybe that's a good one. And I walked like, I don't know, 40 minutes to get there, just to find this little punch hole tunnel, nowhere to camp. Finally, I just found like this uneven ground and just kind of had a wet night. a little bit hidden. Camped out, night one. Things are going great. Still in Portugal, but whatever. Got up, dried off a little bit, and walked back to the road, the highway. Luckily got a ride right away, just in a truck, just to kind of get me moving. Got to the next town. I was up on the highway again, just because just had to be on the highway, and once again the police came, and they're like, yeah, you can't, different police thankfully, but they're like, yeah, you can't be on the highway, you can't walk. I'm like, I didn't know. And I was so close to Spain, they literally drove me to Spain like 20 kilometers or something. So they dropped me off at the border, like, you're Spain's problem now. I'm like, all right, I'll take it. Got a ride from a priest from Mozambique after that to another town. He was thinking about buying me a bus ticket, but the bus was closed. It was just time of day or whatever. So instead of being helpful, that was actually like threw me off a little bit, because now I was just in the middle of the city and had to walk out. But I got out of there. Finally got back to the highway and walked back up on the highway. I'm like, new country, new rules. So walked back up on the highway. Got a ride from a minivan with this couple and their 2 kids in the back seat. So I'm in the minivan sitting between these 2 kids in the back seat. I don't know how old they are, 5, 10. You can never tell the difference. But they were going to Madrid, so I halfway thought, like, oh, should I go all the way to Madrid? I'm like, kind of out of the way. Do I want to show up in Madrid by dark? What time is it going to be? So, what the hell is that? It's one of those political vans going by or something. It's annoying. Anyway, so I'm in the back seat. One of the kids has got a Rubik's Cube, so I solved the Rubik's Cube and blew his mind. They're like, oh, he solved the cube. I'm like, fuck yeah. They went out of their way a little bit to drive me to this other city, Valladolid, something like that. Just south of it, actually. So I was at a rest area there and finally got a ride from a couple into this city, but where they dropped me off, it was like, that's obnoxious. This person driving by. I'm just in a park right now in Athens. It's like the quietest spot I could possibly find. But yeah, this couple gave me a ride into the city, Valladolid, something like that. I don't know. But where they dropped me off, there's no entrance back north. So I'm like, ah, fuck. So I looked on the map and like the next place where I could like walk to hitchhike, by the time I got there, it was gonna be dark. So I'm like, all right, let me just embrace that I'm in this city for the night. So did what I usually do. First thing I look up in a random city when I know I'm gonna be there is a brewery. I'm like, maybe find a brewery. And then I'm like, you know, it's still kinda early. It was like 7:30 or something. I'm like, let me give it a shot. I looked on Couchers, Trust Roots and Couchers, and I saw a host that looked pretty cool. I'm like, all right, let me Hail Mary, last minute couch request. So I sent him a message, and sure enough, within like 20 minutes, he messaged back. He's like, hell yeah, you can stay the night. So I was like, fuck yeah. So he only lived 30 minutes walking from where I was, so it was perfect. This dude, Hector, he was super awesome. Went up, met up with him, got a needed shower. And then, yeah, he's like, let me show you some spots. So we went out, he got me like some pork ear that we chowed on, had a beer, then went to this other like little dive bar kind of spot, grabbed some beers. He's like a software engineer, super cool. So yeah, pretty chill night. Better than just camping out randomly. Got some laundry done, and yeah, super cool dude. So in the morning, yeah, a little bit of coffee or whatever, and then back into the rain. So it already started raining again. So yeah, thanked him and got ready for day 2. Day 2 of this mission, or day 3, I guess. So marched through the city to the outskirts, kind of getting rained on the whole time. Finally got a ride from a Bulgarian couple to this rest area. They gave me like 30 euros. I was like, oh, sweet, which you'll see later actually comes in handy, like almost exactly. It's funny how the road works. This 30 euros they gave me. There I got the first kind of long ride of the trip, longest ride. This woman, Belgian woman, picked me up with her daughter in a van. They'd been on like a little trip down to Portugal themselves, and they were heading back to France. So I was like, fuck yeah. So I cruised with them like for several hours. We stopped at like a beach at one point. She got me a beer and a sandwich, and she'd hitchhiked and traveled a bunch. So super cool ride. Got over the border into France, and then in Bayonne, she dropped me off there to kind of keep it moving. Oh, and that's where I got kind of thrown off. I'd almost thought about going up to Bordeaux with her, but she wasn't going to be going all the way. There's like 2 different ways I could kind of head east. But I chose the Bayonne kind of situation and waited out a little bit more rain when I got there. Kind of started moving, and this guy dropped me off just like a dead exit. It's just like not much traffic, so I'm like, all right, let me walk down to the highway again. And sure enough, after like 20 minutes on the highway, now I'm dealing with the French police. They come and they're like, you can't be on the highway, and they gave me a ride to the next exit. And I thought the last exit was dead. This exit they dropped me off, I stood there for 40 fucking minutes without a single vehicle going on. So I probably stayed there for 20 minutes longer than I should have. Like after 20 minutes of 0 vehicles, I mean 0, not 1, getting on, I should have been like, forget this. And yeah, most situations like that, I walk up on the highway and start walking, but because the police just dealt with me, not gonna get a second chance from them usually. So I'm like, I gotta go walk these like side streets. So I just started walking, got a ride right away once I was on like country roads, and just got dropped off in some little village. And then 2 guys picked me up after that, 2 younger guys, looked like they might have been 22 or something like that. Spoke a little bit of English, but they were just fucking like giddy. Like that I was from New York, you know. They just like couldn't believe it that they had someone from New York in their car, and they were just looked like they were maybe 1 or 2 beers deep, particularly the driver. And they're like, okay, you know, just laughing, trying to talk to me a little bit. And then they're like, yeah, we're going to a party with some friends. Do you drink? And I was like, fuck yeah. That sounds, I could use a fucking drink right now. And they're like, all right. And as we got close, I was only in the car with them for like 10 minutes, but there was one roundabout, and that was like kind of the decision point. They're like, if you go that way, that's the highway to keep going. Or they're like, yeah, you can come with us and meet our friends and have some drinks. So I was like, dude, this is a no-brainer. And it was already about sunset at this point, so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go with these guys. I'm gonna go to someone's house or whatever and drink some beers, meet some of their friends. Inevitably, one of them will speak like better English than they do, and you know, of a handful of people, someone's gonna be like, oh, you can, you know, crash on a couch or something. So anyways, I drive with them, and then we get to this like community center, and there's like 200 people there probably. Like more people than we're at Flamingalo, the fucking, and it's little kids kicking the soccer ball, it's old people, it's everybody. I'm like, what the fuck? And their English is not great. I'm like, I thought we were going to like a house party. What the fuck is this? So we walk in, and there's like big long tables, all tableclothed out and places set, and a big long bar with a bunch of people smiling. A lot of the girls are wearing those striped black and white, like kind of classic mime French shirts. I'm like, what the fuck? And they're laughing, and everyone they bump into, they're pointing at me like New York, and I don't know what they're saying, but you know, basically sounds like they're saying like, look at this novelty we found on the road. And we get up to the bar, and they ask me what I drink. I'm like, beer is perfect. And they're like, oh, great. And they're like, you drink liquor? I'm like, why did you even ask what I drink if you were just going to choose? Whatever. Yeah, so they got me some kind of like, I don't know, limoncello sort of drink. And they're laughing, and then a few of their other friends come by, and they're like, you know, saying the same thing, I guess. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is the point where somebody's going to speak English. And one of the girls did speak English, and like hesitantly she said something in English, and I was like, oh, cool. I was like, what is this party? I'm like, what is going on here? And she's like, oh, any excuse to have a party in France, we do it, and this is like a culmination of the local villages, and we have a big get together like this like every month. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I thought I was like in there, you know, it's like I can talk to somebody now. But then she just kind of like ignored me after that statement. It's like, okay. And then the guys were like, oh, we're gonna go outside and like pee or something. So I followed them outside, and then one of them disappeared immediately, and the other one just like kind of merged into a group of friends and just started ignoring me. And I was like, all right, that's fair. Then I was just standing around like, all right, what next? Drink is empty. Like, other guy disappeared, and you know, it's dark at this point. I'm like, I should maybe go back to the highway. And I'm like, then the other guy kind of came around and said something about eating, but he's like, you should talk to that guy because I don't speak English. I'm like, sounds like you kind of are. And yeah, I was just like, and that's why I made the decision. I was like, I'm just gonna leave. And I think I could have stayed, could have been awkward. Maybe I would have had like a hell of a meal. Maybe eventually someone would have like, I don't know, maybe I could have found a place to stay. And instead, and I kind of regretted leaving, but not, because 30 minutes, I was like an hour and a half back to the highway. Not that I was going to hitchhike, it was already dark, but I was like, I could probably camp by the highway. And within 20, 30 minutes of leaving on that hour and a half walk, it just started dumping rain, harder than it had rained the whole trip. Just pissing on me. And, you know, I've got rain jacket and stuff, but still, it's just like, you know, getting soaked, and just rained like that hard as it could for like an hour, all the way until I got to the highway. Then it kind of let up, and again, everything was like fenced off. Even though I'm in the countryside, everything was fenced off, and I found like a little spot, and then it was totally soaked. Not just soaked, it was like a marsh, like a swamp in there, because it rained so hard. There's like inches of water, like ankle deep. I'm like, all right, I can't camp here. So it was another night of just walking around for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, just different directions, like the other night. Like, finally finding this like stream that was just pouring down, but like next to it there's like some muddy ground. It was literally my only option to camp. So I'm getting surrounded by cats right now. This is crazy, coming out of the woodwork. Yes, that was a wet night, and then it started raining, of course, right in the morning as I was getting up. I was like, all right, fucking great. So I walked back to the on-ramp, and I'm in the middle of the countryside now, so this on-ramp is not very busy, but I had to dry my shit out anyway. So I was there for like an hour and a half just drying out my bivvy, and sleeping bag gotten damp from condensation and stuff, and fucking name. And trying to hitchhike in between drying stuff when cars did come, and not even like friendly faces, you know. So once my stuff was dry, I was like, fuck this, I'm walking back to the like side roads again. And again, I got a ride pretty much right away once I was out in the country roads, and got to the main kind of main parallel country road to the highway, and started moving. Got a cool ride from a guy who like brewed a bunch of beer, which is kind of cool. That was nice. Got me to the next like little city, I guess if you could call it that, and started moving a little bit. Probably got 8 rides on this day. Yeah, so I'm like kind of like looking at my notes. 59 different rides over this like course of this whole thing. So started getting towards Toulouse. That's what I was aiming for. Finally started getting back on track. I was like at Toulouse, hitchhiking from there. And then this like guy in an RV picked me up. Didn't speak any English, but wouldn't stop talking. One of those. It's just like, all right, you just keep talking. And I just talked back in English as if I could understand him. And just neither of us understood each other, and just kept talking to each other. It was kind of goofy. He dropped me off at another toll booth. And then this Moroccan couple gave me a ride, and they were going just a little bit, or they're going to Montpelier. And they gave me a ride just past like a rest area. So then I hitchhiked backwards. I got a ride from this girl and her mom back to another rest area, and then like ran across the highway like Frogger to get to this rest area. And at that point it was just about dark, 30 minutes of daylight, and I was like, it was a big, awesome rest area, and I was like, all right, cool. If this is where I got to sleep tonight, easy camping. I can walk in, charge stuff. But I got a ride about an hour or so further from a pretty cool guy to an equally great rest area. So got there, charged up my phone and junk, and found a place to camp real easy behind this rest area in France, deep in France now. So not too bad. The next day, okay, got charged up. This was like a 10 ride day. This is a big day. The first ride kicked ass. It was this guy from the UK, French guy living in the UK, and he was going a good ways, couple hours or something, and even went a little bit further because we were just having a good conversation, and dropped me off at a big, busy toll area. And I was like, all right, this is gonna be sweet. Trying to get to Italy today, you know. But then I got this ride from this guy who asked for money at first, and I was like, nah, I don't have any money. And he's like, all right, I'm going to Marseille. And Marseille's like kind of the right direction, a little bit off of where I should go, but right direction. I've been waiting for a while, so I went with him, but I think he was jugging. Like, we stopped at every gas station. He had a big gas jug, and I think he was like panhandling for gas. So like 6 times we stopped at gas stations on the way to Marseille, which is just like an hour away, should have been. Waiting for him to do that, and finally he dropped me off in a spot. It was just like a bunch of walking from there just to get back on track. And yeah, just a bunch of short rides after that. Toll booths, getting sunburned. At one toll booth, this like really cute Italian girl in this like little teal blue car picked me up, and I was like, fuck yeah. And she had Italian plates. I was like, hell yeah. And I got in, and I was just so stoked because she was like pretty and had a bunch of energy and like Italian plates. And I was like, finally, I'm catching a break here. And a quick glance at her GPS, I saw it said 5.5 hours away. I was like, fuck yeah. We're cruising. But then I noticed that the first direction, as we started moving, was the opposite direction. So she was leaving Italy, and she didn't understand me or look at my sign, I guess, when she picked me up. So she was going the opposite way immediately. I was like, oh fuck. So I told her quickly, I was like, so we ended up going in the direction of Italy. Just like 10 minutes, she went out of her way to like get me to another rest area and drop me off, and I was like, god damn, fuck, so close. Oh, it would have been such an awesome ride. Instead it was just 10 minutes, and it was awesome conversation. That 10 minutes, she was about to walk the Camino Santiago and just seemed like an awesome person. I was like, man, I could have gone for 5 hours of this, but no, just 10 minutes. Where she dropped me off at this rest area. Some older guy picked me up who spoke 0 English. That's okay. He got me a little bit further, moving towards Nice and Cannes, and then I got dropped off in some weird little city thing before it, and then this like Mercedes limousine SUV picked me up. This guy from where is he from? I think he was from Mozambique as well, but he was living in Paris at the moment, and he had come down for the Cannes Film Festival, which I'd always heard of. Cannes Film Festival, that sounds like familiar to me, but I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that is from Cannes in France. So he's been coming down the last couple years just to make money, limousining people around. In my case, got a free limo ride. So rode with him. He was super friendly. Got me into like closer to Nice. Got a ride from some YouTube fitness instructor to Nice after that. And that was my last like legitimate ride of the day, because it was getting dark. And then another cute girl almost picked me up, but didn't. She stopped to pick me up, but she wasn't going the right way. I was like, damn it. 0 for 2 today on that front. So I was like, I gotta walk on the highway again. I don't know what it is, but I'm just like, I gotta walk on the highway. And sure enough, I got picked up by the police again. They dropped me off in the north of Nice, and at this point it was dark, and I was looking around. I was like, there's nowhere to camp. Found a place to charge my phone, use some Wi-Fi at like a Burger King. Just debating my options. I saw there's public transit for like €1 that would get me across the city, so at least put me in a good spot in the morning, and looked like a good place to camp. So after an hour or 2 of taking the public transit trams and junk across Nice, I got there to realize there was nowhere to camp. Everything that looked like it was a place to camp was all fenced off. Looked like a beautiful hitchhiking spot though, but just dark. And at this point it's like midnight, it's 1 a.m. and I'm like, all right, so I'm just standing there at the hitchhiking spot, and there's like a car coming every like 5 or 10 minutes. And I'm like, I don't know what else to do. You know, it's like I can't camp. Like, I might as well just stand here and maybe hitch a ride. But after like 2 hours of just, you know, trying to hitchhike in the dark like an idiot, I'm like, it's a 4-hour walk the long way to the toll booth. Maybe I'll do that. So I started walking and just kind of lucked into a place to camp, like 2 a.m. next to like the railroad, just barely a place to camp, but that dark, that tired, it worked out. So camped there, walked back to the hitchhiking spot the next day, and got a ride pretty quick from a guy who was going, he was from Monaco actually, so it's kind of cool. Well, yeah, first there was a Russian truck driver who got me to that toll booth, and then this guy from Monaco picked me up, but he was going to Italy to drop off, he was towing a boat. So got over the border finally with that guy, super friendly. He bought me a sandwich on the way, real cool to talk to. We got caught in a bunch of traffic and junk, so was hanging out with him for 2 or 3 hours, cruising along. And yeah, he got me into Italy, and I was reminded why Italy kind of sucks for hitchhiking. Like, this was probably my worst experience in Italy, I would think, as far as hitchhiking goes. Yeah, he dropped me off. Where was that? I'm not even sure what the town was, just kind of barely in there. Like a truck gas station. Yeah, somebody with a, oh yeah, that's what happened. Sorry, so all these days are fucking blending together. Yeah, he dropped me off at like a truck stop area, and there was like kind of a toll booth right there, and there's sort of roads going everywhere, and it's kind of confusing as to where to like start. And some guy in a van who was like maybe working on his tires, I don't know what he was doing, like younger dude, like he's like, you look like you're a hitchhiker. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, this is good. So I walked over and I was like, yeah, I'm heading to Slovenia. He's like, oh yeah, we're going that way too. He's like, I've hitchhiked a bunch, like all over, blah blah blah. And he's like, yeah, our van's pretty full, and I don't know if like the girlfriend would be okay with it. And I'd already told him I was from New York, and he's like, I don't know if she'd be cool with like a full-blown New Yorker. That's the way he put it, full-blown New Yorker. Okay. I'm like, all right, well, maybe ask. So she came over and she looked friendly enough, but and he's like, yeah, this guy's from New York and he's hitchhiking to Slovenia. Do you think we can give him a ride? She's like, looked a little hesitant, but she's like, yeah. I was like, ah, fuck, yeah. Like, 'cause it's still 5 hours or something to Ljubljana where I was going. I was like, fuck yeah, this is the break I need. But then, like, he was sort of trying to make room, because there's a whole mattress in the back and all this stuff, and I saw that they made eye contact or something, and I guess she must have given him some kind of look. He's like, yeah, it's just not gonna work. She's not super into it, and the police are crazy around here, so we can't really like make a room with seatbelt. And like, god damn it. I want to be like, come on dude, we can make it work, we can move this, but I'm not gonna argue. So I was kind of bummed, got my hopes up for a second there. And then I walked up to the toll booth kind of area, and got a ride from a guy going to the next town, Genova. And he dropped me off at another toll booth area, which was kind of hectic, and got like right into the city of Genova from somebody else. And the highways are all kind of crazy right there. The guy who dropped me off was cool. We actually stopped in the mall, and he made me a sign that said Marseille. He's like, this will be useful. Picked up his wife from work, and he gave me a sandwich too. I was getting a bunch of sandwiches this whole trip. Some water and stuff. Dropped me off past this toll area, and I was standing there for like over an hour until, guess who comes along? The police. And they're like, yeah, you can't hitchhike here. They gave me a big loop around ride back to the start of it, and he basically pointed me to the bus station. And I'm like, fuck the bus station. So I walked up to the gas station, and I was hitchhiking there for like 30-40 minutes, and then a different police officer came, and they're like, no auto stop. Auto stop's a word for hitchhiking, like, as I can hear police siren in the background here. And at that point I was just stuck, because I'm in the middle of this damn city. I've tried hitchhiking here, there, and the other place. Everywhere is blocked off, like police are fucking coming at me, even when I'm just at the gas station, not even on the highway, and they're like, no auto stop, and I'm just like completely stuck. So, I'm like, all right, let me check trip hopping. And as I mentioned in the start of the episode, I have buses on Hitchhiking now. So I'm like, all right, let me see if this feature actually works. So I looked, I'm like, how far can I get in a bus from here? Like, how far across Italy can I possibly get? And I'd been given that 30 euros earlier. So I'm like, how far can I go? And I looked, and there was an overnight bus, which is absolutely perfect. Like, classic travel hack is to take an overnight bus, especially if you're the type who's gonna like get a hostel or something anyways. It's like two birds with one stone, you know? You pay the cost of a bus, and it's basically like your accommodation for the night. So there was a bus from Genova, where I was, to Venice, Italy. Venice? And actually that bus was continuing. It was going to make a stop in Venice and then go all the way to Ljubljana. To pay to go all the way to Ljubljana was like way more money. It was like $60. So I cannot do that. So I'm like, all right, let me get this. It was like $25 or something to Venice overnight. So I'm like, all right, let me do that. So bus didn't leave till like midnight or something. So I got to like chill out in Genova for several hours and just kind of check out the city a little bit, waiting for this little bus to get me the hell out of that part of Italy, away from all these goddamn police and shenaniganery. So finally the bus came along, and then my thought was on the bus. I was like, first of all, I'm gonna close my eyes and pass the fuck out, because I was tired. I hadn't slept well in a couple days, a few days. So I'm like, but then my thought was like, maybe I just like don't get off the bus in Venice and see how that goes, because it was going to go to Trieste, Italy, and then to Ljubljana. I'm like, maybe, I don't know, maybe no one says anything. Maybe if I just don't get off the bus, I can ride all the way there. So yeah, right as the sun was coming up, we got to Venice, and I was like, just kept my eyes closed. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna see if this works. And then sure enough, they did a head count or whatever, and like I had my earphones in, and all of a sudden they started asking for everybody's ticket, and they got to me, and I was acting like I was asleep. He nudged me and asked for my ticket. I showed him. He's like, yeah, you're done. You're here. I'm like, damn, they're serious about this. Some bus companies are lax, you know, they don't give a shit. It's not like it was a full bus or whatever. But yeah, they gave a shit. So, and they made me get off. I was like, damn, it's worth a try. But I'm like, anyways, all right, I'm in Venice. It's 6 a.m. Got the whole day. I'm at the edge of Italy, basically. Let me get out of here. And fuck off. I was in Venice all goddamn day. So the very first on-ramp I went to is just huge signs, no auto stop, big capital letters, no hitchhiking, you know. And it was way too tight to try to hitchhike. So I'm going from one spot on the highway to the next, trying to find a good spot. Took like 2 or 3 hours to finally get a little north of Venice. Walking through like farmland to get to one of the gas stations on the side of the highway, and I was standing there for 2-3 hours or more until cops had been in that rest area. They didn't say anything the first 2 rounds, but then the third round, I don't know if it was the same human beings in the cop car, but the third time they came up to me and they're like, yeah, no auto stop. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not on the highway. I'm like, this gas station with a gigantic fucking parking lot, you know, like, what's the problem? And I'm like, well, where am I supposed to go? There's like, I can't walk on the highway. And they're like, call a taxi. I'm like, I'm not calling a taxi. I don't got money. And finally, I'm just like, you guys just got to drive away. So they drove away, and I tried hitchhiking for another couple minutes, but I'm like, all right, I don't want to get into any fucking issues. So walk back through the farmland where I'd come from, another hour or 2 down to the airport area. So fucking Venice, like, all day. Then finally, once I got to this airport, sort of like parallel non-Autobahn road, I got a ride right away from this cool German couple, actually. And they just started driving me into the middle of nowhere. And at that point, I was like, I don't even care. I don't even care where I'm going. Okay, what's going on? They gave me a beer, so I'm just drinking a beer. They were awesome to talk to. I'm like, I don't even care where the fuck we're going. Like, I'm just happy to be in a car and moving. So they dropped me off in the middle of the countryside somewhere. Stuck out my thumb again. Some dude gave me a ride there. He dropped me off in like terrible spot, but again, I was like, at least I'm moving. Stuck out my thumb again, and this older couple picked me up, and they took me to a toll booth, kind of back on track, getting closer to Slovenia. And then this boat captain kind of guy picked me up from there. Younger guy, super cool, and he was going close to Turiste, but not quite. And it's sunset at this point. It's getting dark, and he's like, yeah, there's a bus that goes to Ljubljana. It's only an hour away. I was like, oh, okay. I'm like trying to think of what to do, and he's like, yeah, there's a bus that'll take you to Turiste, and then there's a bus station there, and you can take a bus there. I'm like, so many fucking buses and transfers. And then he's like, he could kind of sense that I was just like not into the whole bus thing and wanting to pay for all that stuff. So he ended up driving me all the way to Turiste, to the big bus station, giving me 20 euros and pointing me to the bus. He's like, there you go. Let me make it easy for you. And thank God for that guy. That guy was chill. So I ended up getting on the hour little bus up to Ljubljana, into Slovenia, out of fucking Italy. And the trusted host I'd been aiming for 5-6 days at this point waited up for me. I got there, it wasn't like super late or anything, it was like 11, something like that. And yeah, chatted with him for a bit and passed the fuck out, like hard. That was good. And yeah, finally a day off. So I'm like, I'm gonna spend the day here in Ljubljana just kicking it, take a day off of hitchhiking. So that's what I did. He was working, he was super cool guy. His name was Jordy. If you're ever in Ljubljana on trust routes, look for Jordy, Jordi. That guy is fucking awesome. He's hitchhiked a bunch, super cool. Yeah, but he's into software development and hardware development. He's awesome. But he was working during the day, so I'm like, all right, let me walk around the city and just check it out and chill. And I've been there once before. If you're ever in Slovenia, it's an awesome little like capital city. So I bopped around the whole city, checking things out. Downtown, little park I remembered. Went to, found a little brewery, got myself a little hazy IPA over there. Made my way back to his place and met, I think, his girlfriend and roommate, and all had dinner together and told some travel stories and just like a chill day off the road for a minute. And yeah, next morning I'm like, all right, back to it. Last stretch. This was over the halfway point. Got to get to Athens, Greece. So how far was I at that point? Would have been like 16, 17 hours driving is what Google Maps would have told you, from Ljubljana to Athens. So I'm like, all right, let's see if I can wrap this up in 2 or 3 days. So walked through the city, got to a gas station spot, and got a ride from a trucker fairly quickly. And I thought he said he was going to Belgrade, but I guess he must have said that he was from Belgrade, a Serbian guy. So we got over the border into Croatia, and that's when I realized he was taking a turn into Bosnia, not over into Serbia. So he dropped me off, but it was okay, because I got a ride from another truck driver. Pretty quickly after that, he was going to the border of Serbia, is what he told me. And like 4 kilometers before the border, it was just stuck on the highway, just trucks like turned off, stuck. And so we're just sitting there, and you know, he breaks out some like sausage and cheese and bread and stuff, and we're chowing. And then like every like 10 or 15 minutes, the trucks move up like a few truck lengths, turn on the truck and move forward. And he gets his wife on the phone, who speaks better English, and she's like explained to me that he said I could sleep in the truck if I wanted to. I was like, hell yeah. It was dark at that point, and we were just gonna get to the border. And he said I guess his boss was gonna come pay for something, a toll or whatever, in the morning, so I just had to be gone before his boss got there. So it worked out pretty good. I just slept right there in the front seat until like 5 a.m. and someone knocked on his truck because he was kind of in the way. There's a bunch of trucks. We were at the border, still on the Croatian side. So 5 a.m. got a nice early start. Walked over the border, into Serbia. There was another fucking, oh man, this guy looked pathetic. I felt bad for him, French guy. So I walked over the border, and as I walk over the border, there's this guy with a Yankees hat on, backpack, and a sign that says Sofia, and he's wrapped up in a sleeping bag. And I'm like, hey, yeah, clearly he's hitchhiking, and clearly, I mean, pretty clearly I'm hitchhiking too. And I was just like, oh, you're going to Sofia, nice. I'm like, I'm going to Athens. I'm like, how long have you been here? And he's like, 6 hours. I'm like, oh, fuck, dude, 6 hours. I'm like, I've been here for 6 hours or so too, but I was sleeping in a truck. And he was in a bad spot. He was in a good spot for the cars. He was like right there at the toll. Like, you know, he could pretty much reach out and, not the toll, but the passport check, like right there. But I don't think he realized, and I was like, all right, dude, yeah, you got the spot. And so I just walked on. I don't think he realized that just like 2 minutes walking further down the road was like where the trucks were getting out too. So he was like skipping all that truck traffic. And I walked up to that and got a ride in 5 minutes. I felt bad for that dude. I was like, damn, been here all night. I think if you'd gone up a little bit further, you would have doubled your chances. And anyways, yeah, I got a ride immediately from a truck driver, third 18-wheeler in a row, cruising. And this truck driver also said he was going to Belgrade, and he actually was. So we cruised, and he dropped me off at the last toll booth before Belgrade because he was going into the city. And then I got a ride from a fourth truck, and that guy was like, you're lucky because I'm going all the way to North Macedonia. I was like, fuck yeah. So I cruised with that guy for a good chunk of the day. We stopped, he got me a sandwich. It was a chicken schnitzel sandwich on the way. And we cruised through Niš, which is a cool city. I was there earlier last year in Serbia. And then finally got to the border, and there's a big long line of trucks. So I'm like, oh, okay. Sounds like this is gonna be an ordeal for you, so I'm just gonna pop out and walk over. So I walked over the border, but sure enough, 30 minutes later, he picked me up again. So I guess he got through the border pretty quick. Gave me a ride a little bit near Skopje, which is a big city in North Macedonia. Also, I was there last year, so I wasn't really interested in going in there. I was more interested in finally just getting to Athens and being done with the big journey, making sure I was there in time for the flight and everything. So I stayed on the highway, pretty slow. One guy actually stopped and pulled over on the highway, North Macedonian plates. And before I even got in or anything, he just asked where I was from, and I was like, New York. He's like, oh, you're an American terrorist. All Americans are terrorists. And I was like, you can't help but laugh. And I was like, yeah, all of us? He's like, yes, you're all terrorists. I'm like, I don't know if that's how that works. And he's like, American terrorists, I cannot give you a ride. I'm like, all right, buddy. So he drove off, and yeah, I got another little short ride from like an Italian couple. Italians out of Italy are more likely to pick you up, I guess. And I walked up a little bit from there, and yeah, got a ride. Who gave me a ride from there? Skopje. Oh yeah, another 2 truck drivers in a row. So yeah, one truck driver gave me a ride like maybe 30 kilometers to the Greece border, and then another truck driver, I think he went a little bit out of his way by a few kilometers to get me to the Greek border. So I arrived at the Greek border on foot, got stamped out of North Macedonia, walked through no man's land. There's a couple casinos there. It's a little strange kind of area. Got stamped into Greece, sunset, and yeah, it started raining real hard. Kind of got out of the rain. It was dark, thinking about where to camp. I knew everything was going to be wet, but I'm like, whatever, it's what has to be done. But I managed to get one ride like 10 or 20 kilometers south of the border into Greece. Wet night of camping right there, which brings me to the final day of actually getting to Athens. Thank you for slogging through this with me. Yeah, hell of a trip. But yeah, woke up in the morning, hitched one ride from a guy going to Thessaloniki, another truck ride for like 10 kilometers to get me to the main highway. on the main highway, I got a ride from a scooter, like a little scooter bike. Stopped and picked me up. I was like, how far is this fucking guy going? So he was only going like 3 or 4 kilometers up. I didn't realize, but there's a toll booth a little further up. So it was actually a pretty good ride that he gave me. And I only had to be on the scooter, on the back of the scooter, like holding on for like a few minutes. And it was a much better spot because, you know, toll booth, so everyone has to stop and slow down. I got a ride from yet another like boat captain kind of guy to Catarini, a little south of there, and then at that rest area where he dropped me off, boom, I got the fucking money ride number 59 of this epic trip. Woo! This guy Dimitri, who didn't really speak any English, played the accordion. Showed me a picture of him playing the accordion. He looked like a guy who plays the accordion from Bulgaria, and that's what he was. He was a 60-year-old Bulgarian accordion player wearing the kind of clothes you might expect him to wear. He was chill, didn't say much. I was like sleeping off and on, but the scenery was getting pretty good, so I was trying to stay awake. We stopped, he got us coffee, and fucking A, he dropped me off in the south of Athens, and I was like, hell yeah. Already had a Trust Routes host lined up, which I was pretty excited about because there's 3 dots on the map right next to each other on Trust Routes, and there's 3 roommates all hosting on Trust Routes. I fucking love that. On couch surfing, I always love that, staying with like roommates and stuff, just classic, you know. So marched up through Athens, got myself some gyros, some tzatziki sauce, you know, on the way. Met up with buddy at, there's like Comic-Con kind of thing going on. So I met up with him and one of the roommates and a couple of his friends, walked around this Comic-Con thing, had a local beer. He was playing a show or something, gig, so I ended up walking back with his roommate, and her and I kind of chatted it up. Got back to the place, and yeah, just a cool-ass apartment. Kind of what you might expect from a apartment with 3 people all hosting travelers. Like, they just moved there kind of recently, in the past year. So they painted it all cool, like there's amps and stuff here and there. There's good artwork all over the place. They got paintings that guests have signed that I'll sign before I leave, and there's like little lofts here and there and rooms, and yeah, it's just an awesome little, exactly what I was kind of fucking hoping for. So woo, fucking A, that was a hell of a trip. Hell of a trip. So that's just a day or 2 ago that I got to town, 2 days ago. Yeah, so yesterday, first day in town, they're all doing their own thing, so I just spent the day walking around Athens, checking it out. You know, they got the fucking Acropolis here to look at, and some statues and junk or whatever. Just, I don't know, I'm walking around, people watching, doing the thing. There's a cool, or what looks like a cool beer record store nearby. It's been closed. I think it's opening up today, so kind of excited about that. But fucking made it. Greece. Take a breath, right? How is this the podcast I do without a goddamn beer in my hand? Almost every podcast I have a beer. Instead, I'm just sitting in the woods with no beer. Now, all right. Let me jump into the outro to fill you in on what's next, as always. And I'm gonna get a goddamn beer here in a minute. All right, we made it. So yes, I'm in Athens. I have all of the rest of today to check things out. I have all of tomorrow. Tomorrow's actually my birthday. Woo fucking de who. I don't know what I'm gonna do. These hosts seem pretty cool that I'm staying with, but they also seem like they're pretty busy doing their own thing and whatever. So seems like I'm just gonna kind of be doing my own thing. I kind of mentioned that like 2 blocks away from where I'm staying with them, there's this beer/record store. It's been closed since I've been here, but it looks like it opens at 6 tonight, so I'm definitely gonna check that out either tonight or tomorrow night. It looks like a beer store where you can also drink beer there, and yeah, I guess they sell records, so I imagine it's just like fucking awesome. Has to be. Like, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, just check some more stuff out. And then the flight is early in the morning the day after. So yeah, I got today, tomorrow, and then yeah, I probably got to like either stay up and go to the airport or get like a couple hours of sleep and wake up at like 3 a.m. and go to the airport. But it is a straight shot right to New York City, right to JFK. I think it's like a 10-hour flight, $150, 130-ish euros is the cost of that flight. North Atlantic seems to be, it's always changing. These like flights between like Europe and United States, like what the cheapo airline du jour is, and lately it's been this North Atlantic. Yeah, so fucking A. Get to New York. My brother's new place, I guess it's close to Grand Central, so that's pretty chill. Go kick it with him for a couple days or so, see who else might be lingering around in New York City. If you're there and you get this before Thursday, May 22nd, I guess that's when I'm getting in there. Let me know. Love to catch up. No definitive plans. I'm kind of thinking I'll stay there for a couple nights, maybe 3 or 4. I don't know. Depends what's going on. And then probably get down to North Carolina. From there is sort of the idea. That's kind of the idea. Maybe see all kinds of shit. Yeah, maybe see some family in North Carolina, and then definitely catch up with some friends on the west part of the state, Asheville, thereabouts. See if he's going to open up this brewery or what that's all about, and yeah, screw around in the U.S. for probably the summer. Yeah, so that is what is up. That's what's up. Definitely gonna try to do some like trip hopping collective kind of stuff. If anyone's interested in helping out with trip hopping, let me know. Could try to organize a little place to rendezvous for a few weeks in the US somewhere in the next month or two. Could be kind of fun. I could take care of all the food and junk, just gotta find a place where we can be. And yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. Fucking A. I need a beer, and I'm gonna go get a beer and upload this podcast. So I hope you guys are doing awesome, and I will see you down the road. With all my shit straight, I'll get my big brain.